engagement, he made an abortive attempt at a concert at Hamilton Place. Dissatisfaction with the sound system and difficulty singing the words to a song caused him to walk off the stage. The concert was canceled and the irate audience had their tickets refunded. At the Nickelodeon, Sly had difficulty with his performance as well and left after only 3 songs. He came back for a short encore, but at $10 a ticket, it was a poor showing. During the afternoon, I had the chance to talk with Sly and asked him what he thought about those people who had spread the rumors of his involvement with drugs.
I think maybe they shouldn't talk about drugs because they'll make people want to be like me if they tell people that I do drugs. And I don't, but if they say I do, they'll make kids want to be like me, and they just publicize it, you know, shouldn't even bring it up.
Yeah. Musician Sly Stone was arrested in Florida this week on drug charges and for defrauding an innkeeper. Gene Wolfe talked to the arresting officer and to Stone when he was released on bail.
There was a broken cocaine freebasing kit. There was a razor blade with some white powdery substance on it.
Stone remained in the Lee County Jail because no one came up with the $570 bond deposit.
We went to the Cow Palace to see Sly Stone. When we went into Sly's dressing room, Sly was sitting off in a corner and he was freebasing. And it literally broke our hearts. Because for me, that's the legendary Sly Stone. I know those records backwards and forwards. And here was the legend of black music. And you're sitting off in a corner and you're freebasing and you have no idea who the fuck's in the room because you're so busy with this glass dick in your mouth.
This group used all of the different musical and social trends of the late 1960s to make a crazy, clever mix of soul, rock, R&B, psychedelia, and funk that broke boundaries down without a second thought. The Family Stone, led by Sly Stone, was made up of men and women, as well as blacks and whites, making it the first totally mixed rock band in history. That integration was evident in both the music and the group's message. Before Stone, very few soul and R&B groups dabbled with political and social criticism. After him, it became a staple of soul, funk, and hip-hop. Stone, along with James Brown, introduced heavy funk into the mainstream. The Family Stone's compositions were inventive with surprising group voices, syncopated rhythms, snappy horns, and pop melodies. Their music was upbeat, but when the 60s ended, so did the good times. The centerpiece of today's video is all about Sly and the Family Stone. Now before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more content. Now, without further ado, let's cue that intro. In the Texas town of Denton, Sylvester Stewart came into this world on March 15, 1944, the second of 5 siblings. His devout African-American family belonged to the Church of God in Christ and carried their convictions with them when they relocated to Vallejo, California, a northwest suburb of San Francisco. Sylvester grew up listening to church music and was 8 years old when he and 3 of his siblings recorded a 78 RPM gospel song for local release as the Stewart 4. A musical genius, he became known as Sly in early elementary school because a classmate misspelled Sylvester. By the age of 11, he could play the keyboards, guitar, bass, and drums, and had already performed in various high school bands. The Viscanes, for example, had an integrated lineup which drew attention in the late 1950s. The group recorded a few tracks, and Sly released a few singles during that time, collaborating with his younger brother Freddie. Sly continued his musical study at Vallejo Joe Jr. College until the early 1960s, when he mastered composition and theory in addition to trumpet, adding to his eclectic bag of instruments. Around 1964, he began as a fast-talking disc jockey at R&B radio station KSOL. Sly's broad musical preferences made him extremely popular. and he was an early proponent of incorporating R&B flavored white performers, particularly British invasion bands like the Beatles and the Animals, and the Rolling Stones into the station's soul music format. Sly later brought his show to KDIA, where he DJ'd until the debut of Sly and the Family Stone in 1966.
How did you make the transition from being a DJ to singing? What made you decide that that was, okay, you had enough?
I used to sing all the time anyway. I brought a piano. I had a piano live in there. And there were some times when, like some commercials, I made them up myself. I played my piano and I sang the commercials. And then some songs that I liked, I'd cut in on the part and turn the record down. And turn the record back up,
Cynthia Robinson was a trumpet player for the Stoners, which Stone founded in 1966. Despite the short lifespan of the Stoners, he included Robinson as a key member of his subsequent group, Sly and the Family Stone. When the Family Stone was formed in November 1966, it included members of various racial backgrounds, including Fred Stewart on guitar and vocals, Larry Graham Jr. on bass and vocals, Greg Erko on drums, Jerry Martini on saxophone, and Rosie Stone on piano. The band set themselves apart from the many flower power bands in San Francisco with their varied sound and multiracial makeup. Their debut record, I Ain't Got Nobody, became a regional smash for the local label Lowstone.
Long as she love me, I ain't got nobody. I ain't got nobody.
Shortly after, the band signed with Epic Records and released their debut album, A Whole New Thing, in 1967. The album flopped, but the follow-up, Dance to the Music, produced a top 10 pop and R&B smash with the title song early in 1968. Life was released later in 1968. However, the album failed to capitalize on its predecessor's success. Everyday People, released late in 1968, reversed their fortunes, rocking into the top of the pop and R&B charts and laying the groundwork for 1969's breakout song. Stand became the Family Stone's first genuine hit album, climbing to number 13 and spending over 100 weeks on the charts. Stand also marked the emergence of the political bit in Stone's songwriting, Don't Call Me Nigger Whitey, as well as the development of hard edge, improvisational funk like Sex Machine. The Family Stone quickly became known as one of the best live bands of the late 60s, and their performance at Woodstock was widely hailed as one of the festival's best. The non-LP singles, Hot Fun in the Summertime, and Thank You Back With, Everybody Is a Star, became hits, reaching number 2 and number 1 respectively in late 1969 and early 1970. Both singles were included on Greatest Hits, which became a number 2 record upon its 1970 release. While the group was at the height of its popularity, Sly was beginning to unravel behind the scenes. Developing a debilitating addiction to narcotics, Stone soon became notorious for arriving late for concerts, frequently missing the shows altogether. Stone's growing personal problems, as well as his dismay with the slow death of the civil rights movement and other political causes, surfaced on There's a Riot Going On. Though the album shot to number 1 upon its 1971 release, the record including Family Affair, Stone's last number 1 single, was dark, hazy, and paranoid, and his audience began to shrink slightly. In 1972, several key members of the Family Stone, including Graham and Erko, left. They were replaced by Rusty Allen and Andy Newmark, respectively. The relatively lighter Fresh appeared in 1973, and it went into the top 10 on the strength of If You Want Me to Stay.
I'm a woman taking up my time. Could you ever...
Released the following year, Small Talk was a moderate hit, reaching number 15 on the charts and going gold, but it failed to generate a big hit single. High on You, released in late 1975 and credited only to Sly Stone, confirmed that his power and popularity had faded. I Get High on You reached the R&B top 10, but the album made no lasting impact. Disco had surpassed funk in popularity, and even if Sly wanted to compete, he was in no shape to compose music. He had gotten hooked on cocaine, his health was constantly deteriorating, and he was frequently in trouble with the law. His music output had slowed to a trickle, so Epic opted to end his contract in 1979 with 10 Years Too Soon, a compilation of previously released songs with the original funky rhythm tracks replaced with disco sounds. Stone joined Warner Bros. The same year, collaborating with the original members of the family Stone on the comeback album, Back on the Right Track, but the record was critically derided and commercially unsuccessful. In light of the album's lack of success, Stone retreated even further, eventually joining forces with George Clinton on Funkadelic's 1981 album, The Electric Spanking of War Babies. Following the album's release, Stone toured with Clinton's P-Funk All-Stars, which led him to embark on his own tour, as well as a stint with Bobby Womack. The culmination of this burst of activity was 1983's Ain't But the One Way, an album that was ignored. Later that year, Stone was arrested for cocaine possession. The following year, he entered rehab. Stone was featured on Jesse Johnson's 1986 R&B song, Crazy. The next year, he collaborated with Martha Davis on Love and Affection for the Soul Man soundtrack. He also recorded Eek Ebo Static, which did not chart. Stone was caught and imprisoned for cocaine possession around the end of 1987, and he never fully recovered from his final arrest. Stone continued to fight his addiction with different degrees of success. Sly and the family Stone were elected into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1993. Except for Sly, all the original family Stone members attended. Sly came unexpectedly as the band approached the podium to accept their awards. He accepted his award, made a few quick remarks like "see you soon," then vanished from public view. In December 2001, Sly and the family Stone received the R&B Foundation Pioneer Award. In 2004, Rolling Stone magazine named them 43rd out of the 100 greatest artists of all time. The band was inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 2007. Sly Stone, a musical genius of the first order, chiseled his way into our American cultural fabric before retreating after his work was completed. Sly and the family Stone's music, particularly the singles and albums released during that critical 7-year period from 1968 to 1975, influenced generations that Sly could not have predicted. Now, before we go, I have a question for you all. What is your favorite song from Sly and the Family Stone?